Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading or streaming the Be Our Guest podcast. Today, we're headed to France, just like the Olympics. Scott is joining me, and we're talking about his first time experiencing Disneyland Paris just a few short weeks ago. He, of course, took his epic vacation over to Europe, 19 days he spent on a back-to-back cruise, and then he wrapped it up at the end because, as every good Disney fan should, he was in the area, so he shot over to Disneyland Paris and spent basically about 36 hours at the resort over there. Stayed on site, did the studios park for a few hours, and spent a full day in Disneyland Paris in the Castle Park. So we get a lot of good conversation about the attractions they have that we don't have stateside, compares the ones that we have in both. And we talk about the food, we talk about McDonald's, we talk about the drone show. We have a good time just recapping what it's like to have a first experience in a Disney park over in Europe. So we really hope you enjoy today's show. As always, don't forget our podcast brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you. Come over. Let's get that trip going today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's no additional cost to you as well, and it supports the podcast each and every time. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. You make this podcast possible. You can support us just $5 a month, and you'll get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. Coming over this weekend, patreon.com/beourguestpodcast.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2532 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from beourguestpodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Friday to you. It's Fajita Friday in this part of the world. I don't know if it is for you, but it is here, and I'll be headed to El Azteca, which is just one of the things I have in common with today's co-host, my brother from another mother. He is Scotty G, and he is from Must See Adventures over on YouTube, which today's show is basically, it's going to be a preview of a vlog, which you will probably see months on down the road, because he's going sequentially through a 19 episode, I don't know what you would call this, like back in the day, because I'm so old, like back in the 80s, they would have like mini series on TV, like The Birds, and I don't know, all these crazy things that my grandma used to watch. I don't even know with vlogs, like it's like a mini season or something, but Scotty G's here, and we're going to talk about something that I'm super curious about. We're going to talk about Disneyland Paris, which I was so like engaged. I watched this whole trip unfold in the clubhouse and all the coverage of Anthem of the Seas. And even before that, he did the Magical Mystery Tour of London we were all worried that somebody was going to steal his iPhone with each and every picture he posted in the clubhouse, but I knew and people didn't. But we're going to talk about that today. We're going to go Disneyland Paris. So Scotty G, happy Friday. The cool thing is we both have an El Azteca. Yours is La Azteca or something, but we're close, right?
Bonjour, Michael.
Bonjour,
yes,
bonjour.
Ours is El Azteco.
El Azteco,
So
yes.
We have the O, you have the A.
That's
And
right.
You know what? I've been going to that restaurant for years, and I kid you not. So our great friends, the Binnings from Ohio, visited us. They did a Michigan State tour right after our trip, and we took them there, and I kept calling it El Azteca because I hear you say it so much. I don't even know how to pronounce my own place.
Well, hey, funny. And shout out to the Binnings, who are currently residing on the Disney Wonder, maybe standing on a glacier as the show releases. We don't know.
They might be. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, bon voyage to them.
Absolutely.
As they're leaving real time, but I know at the point this episode drops, they're having an amazing cruise. But I call it a series or like a season. Like 19 episodes is a lot. Right?
It is. That's a amen. That's a ton.
It's almost like a TV series. I think YouTube kind of calls them like a playlist, so I put it like in a playlist kind of. But I'm old school like you, man. It's like a TV series of some sort because they're kind of like TV episodes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're kind of fun. I kind of leave a little cliffhanger at the end. You know, what we're gonna be doing tomorrow. Like, stay tuned. Like, I love it. But the best way to know when this episode is going to drop is to subscribe.
Yes.
Then boom, it hits your feed. Like Mike always talks about, subscribe to the podcast, which all of you absolutely should be doing, so that the episode on Thursday night, that's the magic, right, Mike? This episode dropped Thursday night, not Friday. It dropped Thursday night into the feed.
Yes, and we don't talk about this enough here on the podcast, and for both of our peace of mind here, when you subscribe, it does help both of our algorithms. I mean, I'm just going to say this right off the top of the show. It supports us because it does help other folks find us. It gives us a little oomph with the algorithm, which pushes us up into discoverability. So people, when they're looking for a Disney show or, looking for content when it comes to European videos and stuff on YouTube, it helps people find us. Plus, I mean, it's a benefit to you as a listener when we go live. So if you can subscribe to the Be Our Guest podcast on YouTube as well. So every time we go live to record a show, you get a little notification right there on your phone, and you can push right there on the notification and just see, what are these two yahoos up to right now? Or what are Ricky and Pam and Mike and Scott and everybody talking about? And then if it's like, oh my gosh, they're up to their nonsense, you can close that window right away. It takes one thumb move to close it out and say, I'm not into that today. But at least you get a notification, right? It's a good thing. And when an episode drops, hey, guess what? We can just let you know. And if we bug you, just unsubscribe. But
I just love that with the episode drop, because I just remember early years of podcasting. I would have my old iPod Classic, the black square one. It was 160 gigs. It was this huge size where I'd have to get a USB, connect it to the computer, find the Be Our Guest podcast, hit the download button, and then I would go do something, right? I'd go shower or whatever, because it would take some time, and I'd be like, oh man, I got to be to work and I need this content for work. And then I would just have to wait a while. But now the beauty with subscribing, boom, it's automatic. I mean, this has been happening for years, right? I mean, it's not like this technology just happened yesterday, but I still am fascinated by that, because I could just go wherever. I get out my device and boom, Be Our Guest podcast is right there for me to listen to. I just love it.
That is still why, I mean, just a little inside baseball here. That is still why our show, it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show, basically. Thursday shows just get thrown in there because I want to give a replay if people can't listen on Sunday nights to the call-in shows. I had to find a spot for them. But the Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows release on Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night. And the reason for that, people probably like, why does he do that at 9 o'clock Eastern for those shows? And that's why, because back in the day, I did that so that you could get up in the morning. So you could, if you left your computer, and I left my computer on all night, right? My main tower computer that I did my work on back in, because the show came out in 2008. That's when we started, basically 2007. It was early 2008. And you would leave your computer on with iTunes running in the background, and it would download your shows overnight. So same thing. I'd go down with my little iPod Classic every morning, I'd trudge down to, because my shower's in the basement. The girls got the good shower upstairs. I'd take it down with my cable, plug it in, and it would sync up while I was in the shower. So I downloaded them overnight so that when I got in the car in the morning and drove to school, then I had my shows that next morning. But I made sure that they would come out the night before, so they were there when everybody got in the shower in the morning, so you could download for your commute. That's why they come out overnight. Yeah.
Yep. I love it. And I love that story, because it makes total sense for someone like me that wanted that content for the next day. And wasn't it the worst when it didn't work?
I hated it.
Your computer shut down in the middle of the night, power outage, power blip, or whatever, or you didn't connect the cord enough to your Classic, so you go shower. You're thinking, oh, it's Friday. I got to work. I've got to have a Be Our Guest podcast at lunch and all this. And then you find out it didn't work, and well, I can't be late for work, so I got to go without my content. Worst days ever. How
do we survive without over-the-air downloading?
Or going for a run. If it didn't work, you were planning on going on this run, and then none of the podcast downloaded. What am I going to do?
Oh, dude, I used to run with an armband with that big old Classic, and I mean, it had a real. That Classic had a real hard drive in it. I mean, it was a actual hard drive. I love it. It was a great. I still have
good old days. It was still fun.
Anyway,
it's fun to think back. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're not, but I love going down memory lane. That's basically a Mike in the Midwest mini episode right there. But let's talk Paris. We're all watching Paris. We're rooting on the American athletes. And of course, because of Coke Zero, I'm rooting on the Great Britain athletes and Canada, because they're awesome and our friends up there.
I root for all. I just want to see great competition.
Same.
I want to see.
Amen.
I root for those smaller countries where they send 3 athletes, right? The U.S., we send so many athletes over, but some of those countries, they have 3 or 4 representatives, man. And I just pull hard for them because they're so proud to represent their country. And there's only one of them, it's so, I just love seeing it all together. I love the Olympics.
So you love Cool Runnings, right? That's gotta be one of your favorite
movies.
movies.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm on.
Oh my God. Cool Runnings is one of the best movies ever. I love it, man.
It's
you,
so
you
good.
good, man? You good, man? Yeah, man.
You dead, Mon?
You dead,
Yeah,
man.
Mon.
That's what it is. Dang, I knew I was saying it wrong. God, I love that movie. That movie, I cry. Like,
Might be able to see it on Disney Plus. That's a Disney movie. I
it
think
is
they
a
have it
Disney.
out there
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
is. It's
So.
yeah. God, I love that. I used to show. Oh man, that's such a good movie. I made Mallory watch it one time. She's like, "What is this?" I'm like,
I just love it when they're in the bathtub, like practicing,
"Yes,"
like their turns and all that. Oh man,
because I
just like
love
they had to
that.
get creative. They
Yeah,
had to
strong, powerful. You are one bad mother.
feel the rhythm,
Yeah,
feel the rhyme.
oh my God, I love it. Okay, but we're
Because
still
bobsled time.
we're not here for that either. We're just totally off. It's a Friday, man. I'm just getting to my fajitas one bad story here at a time. But we're
So we're gonna
talking
talk
about
about
Paris.
Disneyland Paris.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no Jamaican bobsled team in Paris, unfortunately. Right now, it's the summer games. But there's going to be Jamaicans run on that track, and they're probably going to be tearing it up. Usain Bolt, man. I love Usain Bolt back in the day. He was awesome. So you got to go. You didn't get to go to any of the Olympic venues, though, did you? You got to see the rings, though, right? Some places.
I saw the rings. So the
pictures?
rings kind of like popped up everywhere. So how we got to Paris, a little spoiler alert for those that watch the vlog later, we took the Eurostar from London over to Paris. And that was a cool experience. It was just felt like old fashioned, right? Like old train travel, like I just thought that was the coolest thing, but it was quite the process. I had to show my passport like 3 different times in the train station. We got over there. When we got to the train station in Paris, we saw the rings were just like hanging up like in a rafter. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. We got to snap a picture, get some video. And that was really it. Like Emily had we love having maps open like during this trip, because like we're in a new place, like, oh, what's near us and what's all that. So we're in the car and Emily has the maps open. And unfortunately, we were going the opposite way of the Eiffel Tower from where we were to get to Disneyland Paris. So we never drove by it. But you could tell though, Mike, I think I might have talked this on a live show. You could tell that they were gearing up for the Olympics. Like there was a presence, like a strong police force just everywhere. And so like to me, like I kind of had to escape that from my mind. Like I can't have that be my impression on Paris because it's just a unique time right now. Lots of safety concerns, so many people flocking for the Olympics and all that. So some of the sites I saw were kind of graffiti, kind of run down a little bit, and maybe that's just like the neighborhood we were to get out of town. But I definitely want to go back and see Paris proper, like the city center, Eiffel Tower, and things like that too. But yeah, we just headed straight to Disneyland Paris basically after we got off the train.
Yeah, because we keep texting each other like in our big text. I mean, of course, is recording a couple days ago the Snoop Dogg coverage as a broadcaster of the badminton and then the cycling. Like he did a 2-minute hit at the end with Trico, and like he was a sportscaster. I posted it in the Discord in our clubhouse, and it was the funniest thing ever. Is recapping some of the sports, but like we've been talking about, like they build these venues right to be very visually showing off the city's best, and the beach volleyball venue right there under the Eiffel Tower. I mean, come on now, it's gorgeous.
That's one of the most gorgeous
Olympic
sets I've ever seen.
Unreal. I mean, it's so cool to see. But and again, somebody also posted in our Discord, they should have just called the opening ceremony Impressions de France, right? I mean, the dude missed opportunity because it's exactly what they tried to, show off their country. But let's get into, you were there. So I just want to hear, I mean, I'm supposed to turn it over to you. Like, you're a Disney fan. Everybody knows your background. You're a DVC member. You've sailed the ships. You've gone to Disneyland more than I have. You've stayed. You're going to stay in all the Walt Disney World resorts. You wrap it up this Thanksgiving with the cabins. So you have so much stateside experience. So what were your thoughts on Paris? And then I have some questions, but just jump into it.
I thought it was great. I thought that Castle Park, and talk about Disneyland Paris, I was thinking about as I recorded this, Mike. I didn't even think about this at the time. It might have got me emotional a little bit, but I'm seeing 3 different castle parks in the same year. Like I've seen Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, California, and now Disneyland Paris in the same year. Man, that's kind of cool as a Disney fan. Like I didn't even think about that when I was there. That now to California this year, but that is one of the most gorgeous parks I've ever seen, and it's the build up to it. So I know you've seen some of my videos. So like so you have like a Disney Village, and we can talk about some of the stuff, and your questions might have some of that. So you kind of have like a downtown, think of like Disneyland out in California, you kind of walk through a downtown to get to like the Esplanade, essentially, like where the 2 parks are. But to get to Disneyland Paris Park, you kind of have to go through there, like the Disneyland Hotel is like right there, and it is just been recently refurbished. And that entrance, I don't know if I've seen anything more beautiful in my life. Like it's windy. You got like all these like rolling hills. You got flowers. There's these beautiful fencing, like the background loop, and you just got the stunning Disneyland Paris hotel in front of you. And my jaw just dropped. I'm like, is this real life? Like, how is this? How is this an entrance to a theme park? Like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, because the picture you posted with, you and the girls was, I mean, it seems so grand, and I mean, we love our pictures right in front of the train station, right at the Magic Kingdom in Disneyland. I mean, they're iconic. I mean, that is exactly why you go there. The train station, the train is what Walt kind of, it's the genesis of the parks, right? It's why he started the theme parks. But when I saw that picture, it was like it did. I mean, it looked like a movie set or something. Like when I saw it, it didn't look real. Like so many of the things on your vacation though didn't look real. Like when you're in Norway, I told Pam, I was like, dude, if somebody told me he's standing in front of a green screen, I'd be like, he probably is. Like that is not real. That is not real. He's faking me out. But
that's why this world is just a magical place, man. I just love
exactly. I said that 10 times during your trip. Yeah, totally.
But yeah. So you mentioned the train station. So yeah, so you're walking through there. It is just unbelievable. Liz and I joked because, as you know, my wife is not a fan of the Ticket and Transportation Center at Walt Disney World. Like it's a lot of work, but the setup is nice though, right? Like you don't want a parking lot in front of the Magic Kingdom. So it's very cool. It's a lot of work, but how you monorail or take the ferry boat in is kind of cool. And that's kind of this is how I kind of equated it to. Like this is like their setup to get into the kingdom, right? So like instead of like taking a boat or ferry though, you walk through this amazing just grand entrance, and then you get up there. And this is one thing we noticed right away. The train station is inside it's not outside the park. Like, so you go through the gates first and then you see the train station. That kind of like threw me off a little bit, but it was so neat. And I was like, oh my God, because I didn't research this super well. Like I still like that element of surprise. I mean, there's benefits, right, to researching things so that you can plan and prepare for, which I probably should have done because we only had one day basically, but I wanted to be surprised. You don't get that opportunity very often. We talk about this, Mike, to go to a new Disney park.
Have a new experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I figured there was a train, but like, it was so cool to see the train. Like, oh my God, there's the train. And then you're just like, oh, this seems familiar. And like, oh, let's grab a map that's in French, because we kind of had to, because they're out of the English ones.
Oh, no way. Shut up. No way.
On the first day we went there, we did find an English one eventually, but that was just one of the coolest moments as a Disney fan, just walking through a new park for the first time. And I can go back a little bit and just say that wasn't actually the first park we went to. We actually went to the Studios park first. So a little background on the day, right? So we took the Eurostar, had to get a car there, and we were staying on site. I'm all over the place on this trip report. We normally talk about, well, where did you stay, right?
No, I mean, let's roll with it. I like hearing it.
Yeah. So we stayed at Newport Bay, so they have, I think there's like 5 or 6 on-site options at Disneyland Paris. And in the short amount of time, and as crazy Disney fans as we are, like we're staying on site, and you get like the extra perk. You can get in the parks like an hour early. So felt like a no-brainer for us. So we stayed at Newport Bay, which is kind of like the equivalent to, I would say, like Yacht Club. It felt very much like the Yacht Club, like the decor as you walk in, it's like this brown wood feel. You can see like a sailboat steering wheel, like the blues and everything. So it felt very familiar. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the Yacht Club right now. And I go up to this nice gentleman, and like he's speaking French to me, and I'm like, oh, do you speak English? I was like, oh yeah, I speak English. I don't know why so many people thought I would stand out clear as like an American when I was out here. I think a lot of times I did, but it surprised me when people thought
you kind of look Irish. I mean, you kind of look Scottish. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. My name's Scotty. My name's
Scotty G. Yeah, exactly.
So Newport Bay was a great. And I mean, we didn't spend that much time in there. I'll say the room was comfortable enough. And it was just kind of smaller, and we had all our luggage, that we've been hauling around all over Europe. So like, we just kind of tucked that in the corner. We left Anthem of the Seas. We purposely put like our next 2 days outfits in backpacks. So we didn't even have to go into the big suitcases, so we're like, we put those to the side, and these are going to be like our next 2 days of travel. So we, we're checked in 4, 5, 6. I think it was like 6 o'clock actually, because the Disney Studios part closed at 9, and we were sitting there like, well, we should just go. Like, why sit around and waste time? Like we have a park ticket. Let's just go. Let's just do it. Let's go to the Studios park. They closed first. They closed at 9. It kind of got us amped up, and it was funny. So we walked there, and we're walking through the Disney Village, and I swear they just want to make this like so American. Like, you're in Paris, but the first thing we see is like the Rainforest Cafe.
No way. Right. Shut up.
Yeah.
That is so American.
I'm like, oh my God, this feels kind of familiar. There's an Earl's sandwich over there too, over by the Rainforest Cafe. And then I look ahead and there's a McDonald's on the left. Then there's this like Chicago steakhouse. And then there's like this New York deli. There's Billy Bob's barbecue. I'm just like, oh my God. There's
You're like,
really,
this couldn't be more American like than Michigan. Like,
yeah, I know, right? So then like it was a conversation we always had, like, was it built this way so that Europeans can feel like what America is like that can't make it because Walt Disney Company is like an American company, or is this like really just to appease the Americans that come over here? Like, I don't really know. I think it's just for Europeans are interested about the American culture is kind of where I landed, and it's an American company. But everything was American like it was just so funny. Like all the bars and everything, like it didn't feel like very French when you were walking through the Disney Village.
But I know you probably didn't have like a lot of time to do any of these things. But did you notice, like in McDonald's, was it the same McDonald's food that you get stateside, or was it like when you went to Hawaii, like that McDonald's had, I forget, like some kind of cool Spam or something? Like I'd want to go in. Was it McDonald's, but like a French McDonald's or something?
Well, my dinner that night was at McDonald's.
Oh, was okay, cool. I had said I swore you wouldn't have gone to McDonald's, but
no. Well, so just to jump ahead a little bit, so we closed the Studios park, then we hopped over to Disneyland. They closed it at 11. Wanted to see the drone show and the fireworks. That goes through 11, and then we were like the mass exit, Yep. And we're like, oh my God, we haven't eaten anything because we were so excited, right?
Sure, like whatever's
we were gonna eat at Remy's Bistro, but they closed before. Like by the time we went up there, it was already closed. So we hadn't eaten, and we were thinking like, where are we gonna go? What are we gonna do? And we're like, maybe that McDonald's is open, and there was the Euros 24 games were happening while we were here. So lots of football, like on this whole vacation on the cruise. And then France had a knockout game against Portugal happening at this moment. And all the bars in Disney Village were just like standing room only. Everyone's hollering. Everyone's intense. You've been to these, like you've gone to like World Cup games, like with people, right?
They're intense.
And like you can hear everyone's like inhale and exhales like at the same time.
Every cross, people are dying. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So like it is packed. So we get to the McDonald's just about right when the match ends. Everyone's like, and France won the match.
Thank God.
Everyone's going crazy, and everyone like is making their way to McDonald's. And we waited. We're like, because you can do like the ordering at the kiosk systems. We're like, no, we're just gonna go up to a person. We had wait in a long line, get up to the person. Like, oh no, you have to order at the kiosk.
Oh,
I'm like, oh,
you dumb American!
So all the football fans like cut us basically because now they're all in there. Like, Mike, it was like almost 1 a.m. until we like got our food. But they did have different food options. Their McFlurries were very interesting, like their ice creams. Emily loves the McFlurries at McDonald's. So
yeah,
like,
our ice cream machines never work around here. So
ours work around here. Like, knock on wood. I hope
ours never do. Yeah, totally.
So, and they come like in this weird like cup. It's like a different cup. So definitely some different options. You'll see when you watch the vlog. I had a McDonald's in Norway where I got this thing called the El Maco.
Oh God, yeah, I've seen. You sent me that picture.
It was like a hamburger taco. It was a taco burger.
God bless Norway. I'm rooting for Norway in the Olympics now too because of that. Yes,
in Europe you do see different offerings. So yeah, but anyway, yeah. So they did have different offerings at the McDonald's, but it was just so funny. But then you had like your World of Disney, like some of those stores that you're familiar with. But anyway, we get to the Studios part, and one thing that jumped out to me was the water tower. I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen the water tower in years because they removed it from our studios, So it was very cool to see. And I'm trying to vlog, so I'm like out there, taking video of all this stuff, and then like I'm panning over, and there's like a cast member that thinks I'm purposely trying to film him, so he starts dancing, starts giving me like the hearts and all this. And I'm like, oh no, I'm just taking some video here. He's like, come on over, come talk to me. You sound American. And he was the friendliest guy I ever met. He was so nice. He just wanted to talk about like how much he loves Disneyland Paris. And I was like, we're like, yeah, this is actually the first step we've ever taken into a Disneyland Paris park. He's like, wait a second, you haven't been to the other park, or you haven't been here at all? And he's like, oh my God, I love you. Let me tell you about everything. Blah, blah, blah. Like, he was just so great. And he was like, but this park though is what you Americans, I think, call refurbishment.
Oh no, he knew.
I was like, yeah. So I mean, it's just filled with walls. So that park is under a big refurbishment, but it was cool. I mean, I don't want to go like this. I can go along here. I don't want to go attraction by attraction, but we kind of knocked it through. You know, we went to their Cars Land version, but they have this ride. I think it's like Cars Ride Through. I don't know exactly what it is, but to describe it is Catastrophe Canyon at the old studios. It's like the same thing. You get like on that little like vehicle, well, not little, but that big vehicle.
Tram thing. Yeah, the tram.
Yeah. So you go through and it's kind of like taking you through Radiator Springs. You see like street signs and all this, Route 66. And then boom, like the canyon is there and it's just the water thing. I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this in years.
I love that attraction. See, I'd love to do that again.
Yeah, I think they call it like Cars Crash. I can't even pronounce. It's a made up word, but Catastrophe with Cars combined canyon. It was pretty cool.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, so we just walked around there. So this is interesting. So we did Ratatouille because like you got to, right? And like we like that at Epcot.
Yeah.
And it was that was the beauty. We went in there, we got to the park at like around 7, it closed at 9, and everything was a walk-on. So we were like kind of crushing it actually. I think everyone was kind of hopping their way over to Disneyland Park. So we walked right on the Ratatouille, and they didn't give us 3D glasses, which I thought was weird. So we did the ride without the glasses. It honestly didn't feel that different. It almost felt like almost the exact same ride, honestly. And I think that's kind of what they did when they made it at Epcot. But that was cool, man. Like we went to Avengers, to their Avengers Land, and Emily's like, let's do this ride. And it's because she did some research. I'm like, what is this? She's like, I don't know 100%, but it might be kind of like Rock and Roller Coaster. I'm like, really? They have something like that here? I can't for the life of you tell you what it was, Mike, what the name of the ride was. But you go in there and they have like Iron Man's out there speaking French. Like it's just hilarious to me. Like, yeah, like Captain America speaking French and all this as you're like going through the queue as a walk on. And the vehicle shows up, I'm like, oh man, this does seem kind of Rock and Roller Coaster. Like I wasn't expecting this. And sure enough, boom, we get in there, you just take off. It's just like Rock and Roller Coaster. And it was awesome. It was so cool. Like,
see, that's priceless though. Like that you get in there and you have like, you don't even know what the vehicle is going to be when it pulls up. You're just like, this is going to be a roller coaster. Let's get in. Yeah. I love that.
It was cool. That's awesome. We got off of that. It was like 8:55. And I looked at Emily. I was like, should we do it again? So we did it again. And this was what was weird because of like the time of year, right? We just had like the summer equinox and all that. It was 9 o'clock and it was still like super like bright daylight and the park was closed. And it felt weird. It almost took me back to like 2020, right? When the park hours were so
weird.
Early. You'd be at Magic Kingdom and the sun is still like up and then you're like, oh, there's nothing available. Like it was just like they were kind of kicking you out. I'm like, why? It's daylight. Like we should be out here, you know? So it was kind of weird with that. But then we went over to Disneyland Park and we walked through like, you know, the grand entrance and all that. And when we saw that castle, Mike, that is beautiful looking castle.
I've heard so many people say it is the most beautiful castle.
I can believe that. I mean, I haven't been to all the parks. I've only been to 3 castle parks now, but it was just stunning to me. And we get up there and to get a photo, you know, we got to do that. And like the sun is setting now finally, so it's getting a little darker. And we're looking and we're like, there's a lot of people setting up right now. So maybe that drone show is going to be happening. And so like a nice guy heard us from St. Louis, actually.
No way.
He was definitely from Missouri. I think he was from St. Louis. And he was like, are you guys debating if you want to watch this right now? We're like, yeah, like, I don't know what time it is. He's like, well, it starts in 2 hours. He's like, whoa. But that I talked to someone that worked here and they said, you better, if you want to watch it, you gotta sit down now. So we're like, all right, that's fine. You know, maybe tomorrow we'll focus on rides and we'll like, this is kind of like a jackpot day anyway. We really weren't planning to get into the park. So we just sat down and talked and all this stuff. And then we watched the Main Street Electrical Parade basically in the sky. So it was unbelievable.
A couple things real quick. So do people over there in Europe kind of set up the same way for like a fireworks show? Because I know in like Tokyo, maybe it's different. Like everybody's kind of hanging out, like staking out their spots? Is it
Basically,
more
yeah,
aggressive
basically.
or
Like,
less
and
aggressive?
everyone's sitting down. Everyone is sitting down, just taking their spot. And like, but people get kind of aggressive in Paris, I feel like. So like some people were like kind of sneaking in last minute. This one girl like kind of kept kicking Liz, like trying to create more room, even though they showed up later. You know what I mean?
Liz,
So like,
Liz ain't playing that. I know.
yeah,
Liz.
so you kind of, it wasn't as respectful, I think it is in like Tokyo or things like that.
Yeah.
Like you had to like, you kind of had to hold your ground a little bit. You had to be firm.
That's cool.
But I think I told you about it. Like that drone show just like made me fall in love with like drone shows.
So I watched in preparation for the show. I watched a video of it, and dude, it was awesome. Like, I mean,
It was
obviously I haven't
the
seen it in
music and
person.
everything.
The
And like,
music is so good because it's a little, it's different than the. It's got like a little synth change to it
yes.
than the main. But I love the Main Street Electrical Parade music. I love it, and I love how they took it and kind of just put like a little tweak to it, and like that train just kind of going across the sky. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And there's fountains too. And that plays more role in the fireworks show that was immediately afterwards. But one of my highlights for me was they had like a pirate ship kind of going on behind the castle. Then all of a sudden you can see like the sparklers, like flames shooting out of the I'm like, how are they doing that? How are they
That's so
doing this?
cool.
And then yeah, just all the different things they made lined up to the music. And then at the end, like it spelled like Disney's like Sky Parade. I can't remember exactly what it was called. It'll fail on my part, but I was like, I just looked at the girls like, what did we just see? Because that was amazing. And it kind of like let down the fireworks show. The fireworks show was like the weakest of the castle fireworks shows I've seen. But, you know, and I thought it was fine. It was actually called Illuminations, which made me laugh. Like, oh, man.
Don't tease.
Like, don't tease me with Illuminations. But there's so many like things happening around the castle, like a lot of water features and stuff. So they were like fountains going off during like the fireworks and all that. So it was really neat. And there's projections and stuff too, which I thought was great. So we had a great spot. We're right in the front of the castle. So it was amazing. It was amazing first day. And we were like, oh, let's get out here, get refreshed and eat and be ready for the morning. And then as you heard, like we didn't get our McDonald's till like almost 1 a.m. So then we had to walk back, but we did make it the next morning for that early, that, you know, the on-site guests get that early hour, you know, extra hour, magic hour in the morning. And we're ready to go. We were there at Rope Drop, and we went straight to Big Thunder Mountain because Frontierland is where it's at in Disneyland Park.
And I've heard that one is, because Ricky's been there too, and that it's that Big Thunder Mountain is incredible because part of it's kind of out on its own little island, I believe, is what I've heard.
Exactly.
And it's themed a little bit heavier. It's just got a little bit more than maybe Land and Walt Disney World, right?
Correct. So Land is my favorite in the States because I love that third scene, like with the explosions. It gets a little loud, right? I mean, it's kind of sensitive.
And I do
it's
like
loud.
how it goes right along to like where people can like are kind of coming in by Galaxy's Edge there. I like where like you're right on the path there. People,
it's
you know,
so cool.
by.
But yeah, it's intense. Like, you know, when you go to the island, because you basically get into like, because you're like underground getting over there, because like you had to go under the water basically to get over to like the main track for the coaster. So you're like, it's dark as heck, you know, and then like it's intense. I did a point of view video. Like, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I haven't watched it, but like it is like the most intense Big Thunder ever. And I loved it. It was like no other. I wish I could have done it at night. Just because like you and I always talk about, like, I think the rides have different personalities from day to night, but we wanted to definitely rope drop that because we thought that was like, out of three of us collectively, that was the one attraction we wanted to do the most. So it made sense to start there, you know.
Real quick though, before did the park feel, because like when I went to Disneyland for the first time, like it felt very familiar, even though I'd never been in the park because of the Magic Kingdom. I've been there so many times. Like on a scale of like 1 to 10, how comfortable did you feel like getting around? You've never setting foot in.
I felt very comfortable. Really? I really did. Because it was familiar yet different, right? We talk about that. Where like Tomorrowland was to your right when you got to the hub, you know, and Fantasyland's behind the castle. And like, so it was kind of a very similar setup. What threw me off was like their Adventureland. Like that was like in a different spot for me, kind of. So like we actually did get out the map a couple times to like figure out where the heck we were going,
which is fun. I mean, I like being a little bit lost. I love that part about it. Yeah.
And I don't need to go attraction by attraction, but I'll tell you some of the highlights for me. And we spent the whole day in the park because like that's what we were doing. And I did want to talk about they offer this thing called a Premier Access Pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you about that.
And I wanted to talk about this on yesterday's show on the feed, our live show, but I was like, I knew we were going to talk about this, so I was going to bring it up. It's expensive. Okay. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm paying for this. I actually paid for it on like the day, like 2 days before, like while we're on the ship. I was like, oh, maybe I should get that, so we can maximize our time. So it's basically a fast pass for like 10, 12, 15 attractions, like all the headliners for both parks. But the beauty of it is you don't go in and like reserve a time. Like, all right, I'm going to do Big Thunder from 11:10 to 12:10. You just show up.
So it's basically kind of like Universal's pass. That you get
like their express pass that they have. And unlike that though, like once you do Big Thunder, then you can't do Big Thunder Mountain again with that pass.
Okay.
But there's so many things. Like again, like I think there's like 15 attractions at least. And while that was expensive, I if you're only going to do it for one day, I kind of recommend it if you want to go attraction heavy, right? Which I think a lot of people will want to do if you're just doing one day. And that was the beauty of it though, was like I didn't have to worry about like, oh, we had to wait for Big Thunder at this point. If we're walking by one of those attractions and it had like a 30 plus minute wait, like, well, let's use the Premier Pass right now,
And was it, I mean, every time it was like a walk on, like you didn't,
it was a straight up walk on every single time.
See, and
was glorious.
That's the debate I think we have in the clubhouse, right? Some people, we had this discussion not too long ago, like if you're going to have something like lightning lanes, some people say price it super expensive so that if you're going to buy it, nobody's using it except for the people that are buying it because it's so expensive that you do just walk on, right? Because like you only buy it every once in a while. Like if you make it so cheap, everybody buys it. There's no advantage to it because everybody's in those lines, right? It's kind of a catch-22. But you're right. I mean, if you only buy it, so only a few people have it.
And
yeah.
It was even more painful because it was euros, and then when I got home, it converted to an even more price in dollars.
About that.
I was like, oh, it's that in euros? Okay, that's fine. And then you get home, you're like, oh, no, it just
Dude,
went
I
up
didn't
like
even know what a euro
$100.
was. What's going on? Exactly. I thought that was, Chuck E. Cheese money. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think you could do, because I didn't do it because we bought the Premier Pass, I think you can buy individual ones as well. Like, so you don't have to do the Premier Pass. Like, say you want to do Big Thunder or whatever. I think you could buy that one if you wanted to. But, yeah, they were straight walk-ons. And we didn't use them right away. We were smart about that, right? We rope dropped Big Thunder. We were going to use it then. So we saved that. It was funny. We started with Big Thunder and Phantom Manor. I do want to talk about Phantom Manor here in a second.
Hear that.
So we did those. Those are our first two rides. We walked right on them. And at the end of the day, when we didn't close the park down, we were tired. We had been traveling for like 19 days.
Crazy.
Like we were exhausted basically. So I think the park closed at 11. I think we like rode Big Thunder. It was the first ride we did and the last ride we did, and it was like 9:30 or something. So like I mean we still had a pretty full day. But Phantom Manor. Okay, so that's like the Haunted Mansion out there. And I knew Phantom Manor was awesome. Like I heard people talk about it.
It's got the monkey, right? It's got the monkey's like the main character, right?
No, the Phantom is the main character.
Oh, is it? Is there not a monkey called Alfred or something in the thing? I'm thinking of something else maybe.
You might be. Or I was really tired. The monkey.
Maybe I'm thinking of Tokyo. I'm thinking of Tokyo, I think. There's some monkeys.
But no, so like the Phantom is like the main thing. So it's really interesting. Like I did so much research on this ride after I got home or like at the airport the next day because like I became obsessed with Phantom Manor.
I've heard it's
like
awesome.
It was like it took over my life like the first 2 days back home. Like I was like I just gotta learn more about this because the storyline is so interesting because like it's kind of like Phantom of the Opera, which like me and Emily like really love that musical. Like there's just like this Phantom in the manor and like basically he's the main character and the bride is like the other main character. And basically he's killing off these husbands that are going to marry his daughter. Like he's like, my daughter can't get married to any of these suitors basically. So he's like killing them. It's crazy, right? But like, it is so cool in the same sense. Like you're just riding through that and the Phantom just like keeps popping up. And then you see the bride and all these other scenes. And they're like very familiar scenes that you'd see in the States, but slightly a little different. And like instead of like a graveyard scene, it is like because this is in Frontierland is where the ride is. You're like in the Old West, and there's like
sweet.
It is amazing. Like you see like a saloon with like ghosts hanging out in there. You see these guys playing poker like in a saloon, and like it was just can't explain the beauty of Phantom Manor, but like it really got me. Like I was just like I just became hooked. Like I was like a new Disney fan again. Like from after our first trip, I gotta keep researching this now. Like I gotta know the history. I gotta know which Imagineers worked on this and all this. Like because it is one of the most amazing attractions I've ever been on. I just absolutely loved it.
And everybody
I would
says
say
that.
that's my favorite mansion.
Well, everybody says
Sure.
that. Everybody says it's one of the top Disney attractions of all time. Everybody goes there. Ricky said the same. I think it was close when Ricky was there. But she's like, it's one of her
I think it
biggest
was close
regrets
when Rick.
that
But
she
the
didn't get
stretching
to
room
do
was so funny. I want to talk about the stretching room a little bit because you kind of see this throughout all the whole park because like are the attractions in English or are they in French? The stretching room, we all kind of know that spiel, like especially us listening, right? We've been on there many times. And they alternate the lines. So like the first line will be in English and then the next line would have been in like French, but it's like telling the same story. Like it's just so funny. I thought like, oh my God, like you're getting a little bit of both here. So,
That's super cool. Yeah, those are the two attractions I'd be going after too.
Yeah,
what about the Space Mountain? Because it's like a Jules Verne kind of take on it, right?
Oh my God, it is Jules. Oh my God, Space Mountain. So we got to that kind of later in the day. And it might have we did take like a midday break, and I think we saved that for after our break to go to Tomorrowland. And yeah, it is very Jules Verne, and it's weird, like kind of like the queue, like what was it? Like it kept having these signs for like, see, I got to do research on this for the backstory. It kept saying like the Baltimore Gun Company or something. Like there was like these weird signs everywhere. I didn't know what that meant, but yeah, the layout is the exterior is unlike any Space Mountain. Like it's just because of the Jules Verne, it's like very different looking. But yeah, I mean, you get in there and Space Mountain and you put a shoulder harness on, and you're like, what am I doing? This is Space Mountain, man.
What's up? Where are we going?
Like, what is this? And then you kind of start, you go forward, you make a right turn, and then you're like sitting there and you're looking up the hill, and then boom, it's a launch.
It shoots you.
Like,
I mean, it's outside, and it's like a shoot you up the hill.
Yeah.
Outside,
So
right?
I mean, and I knew that, right?
Yeah,
I was just
I've
trying to set up the
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Like I knew there was a launch there, and you could see it, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen
and it's kind of cool because I think, if I remember, I have video of it. I'm sure, like if you're looking outside from it in Tomorrowland, I think it like shoots out some like water too, like kind of over it as you're going by. Like it's a cool looking thing. But yeah, it was intense. It was like the most intense Space Mountain, but I loved it. And what's funny, this is really funny. I shared it in the vlog, so when you see it, you'll see me tell my real time reaction to it. So we're 3 people, right? So the girls are in front of me. I sit down, get ready, and we're ready to go and all that. Probably 3/4 of the ride, I hear like a sound. And I'm like, what was that? And I look over, there's like a little girl next to me. I didn't even know there was someone next to me in the vehicle.
You're like, when'd you get in here?
I was like, when did that person show up?
Hey.
Like she must have just barely met the height requirement. I honestly, I could not see. Like I saw that the shoulder harness was down because I figured they just put it down.
Yeah, just slammed it down. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, there was a person next to me.
She's screaming in French.
Because you know me, I like to have fun, so I'm going like, whoa, 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 like all crazy, and I'm like, oh God. After I noticed there was someone next to me, I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Crazy American. Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
It was so cool though, Mike. It was fun. Their Tomorrowland is neat. There's like how I love the Autopia at Disneyland. Like Tomorrowland Speed. It's so weird. Tomorrowland Speedway, Magic Kingdom. I could be fine never doing that again.
Yeah.
But I love Autopia at Disneyland, and I love their Autopia too. It was just the color of the cars were like unique too. They're like very like neon, like very bright pink, like super like lime green and all that. Like, and me and Emily went for a cruise together, and it was fun. Like I never have fun when I do the Magic Kingdom one. I'm not trying to knock that in any means. Like I know it's fun for kids, right? It's the first time they drive a car, but as an adult, like I don't care for that one as much. But I love Autopia. Don't you feel the same way about the Disneyland one?
It is. It's more nostalgia at Disneyland, right? I mean, it's like I feel like I'm back. Like I don't know. I feel like it's like I'm back in the 50s or 60s, and I don't know what Disneyland or Walt Disney World is fine, but I've done it, and it feels hot and just slow.
Yeah.
There's too many other cool things to do in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. Like I feel like okay, I want to do something else. Give me the CTA.
There's another cool thing in their Tomorrowland that we don't have. And I think they had the subs. We ended up not doing the subs. I think. I could be wrong, but they had a Nautilus, and it was like a walking tour.
I've heard that. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was super cool. Like, I mean, think of it kind of like the treehouse, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just like go in and then you just kind of do it at your own pace. You just walk around. And it was super neat. Like, I really like doing that. I was like, man, like I wish we had something like that here in the States. Like you just walked around the Nautilus and like explored. It was pretty neat.
And that's what I was going to ask, like sleeper stuff that we don't have that you would recommend for folks that are going over there that, you know, because a lot of times, like, you know, you might not have a lot of time, but you could walk past something that's a sleeper hit and miss it.
You could
and you're not
100%
there.
walk past the Nautilus. Like you don't even like really notice it. I didn't notice. It was Elizabeth that pointed it out to me. I was like, what is that? Like, and then you can kind of like see it. I'm like, oh yeah, like you can actually go in there and walk around. It's like, oh yeah. So that was neat. I would say this is a sleeper, though. I think like people in our community know about it, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. And I know we've heard people mention to us on the live show, Mike, is the dragon underneath the castle.
Yes.
So, all right. Without doing any research, Mike, and sorry if I'm going to spoil you here. Spoiler alert if people don't want to hear about the dragon. I just thought you're going to see like Mishu from like Mulan or something. Like you're going to go in there and there's going to be this dragon underneath the castle. It's going to be like really cute and all this. No, man.
He's still living in your dreams.
You go, yeah, basically you go to this dragon's lair and it is like got to be one of the coolest animatronics I've ever seen. It is humongous and it is like chained in the bottom of the castle trying to escape. Like it made sense to me. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it's not Maleficent. It's just like a generic dragon castle dragon. But the way its eyes like just like light up green and it's like looking around at all the people, it's dark and it's like moving, it's like trying to get out of free itself from the chains. I was like, oh my God, this is a dragon. This isn't Mishu. Like this is like a real dragon.
Like they're really for real trying to give me a nightmare ride with this thing.
Oh my God. It was unbelievable. I actually spent like 10 to 15 minutes down there. Like I filmed it like 3 or 4 times. I just could not leave because I was just like,
so is it like Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland? You just walk through at your own pace?
Yeah.
It's not like a queued up thing? You just
so there's like a story you can do too, kind of like you do at Disneyland. But what's cool, you can go up. So you enter the main level and you can like kind of walk around to kind of get to the dragon's lair, or you can kind of go up and walk around. But then there's like an open air area. So it's almost like a bridge. Like you go up there and you're looking down at Fantasyland and you can just watch people like on the carousel or like walking around in the shops, grabbing their treats or whatever. It's just like you got the whole Fantasyland in sight. It is super neat. It is a super cool view.
See, that's so cool. Like I know that like at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, like it's great because they have Cinderella's Royal Table and Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique like being used in the castle and so forth. Like, and they're using it for like revenue purposes, right? But I love that at Disneyland, you can walk through Sleeping Beauty Castle and see the story, right? You can see it unfold with the little dioramas. And like it sounds like this is like to the next level, that it is, the castle is an attraction that the everyday day guest can go through. And, you know, the castle is an attraction. It's an experience. I love that. That's more a better use of the castle to me.
Agree. So that was super neat. One thing we couldn't do because it was under refurbishment, which is funny. I saw like somewhere on social media today that someone did it. It was like Alice in Wonderland has this maze that
I've heard of that too. Yeah, the hedge maze.
I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, I think it was like Grace or someone in the Discord was like, oh yeah, you got to do, because I asked like, where was that photo taken from? Like they shared a photo and they're like, oh, it's the maze. I'm like, oh sweet, made a note, got to do that. Get ready. I see the maze and then it's under refurbishment. So that happens though, right? It happened to Ricky, but I'd rather have that than Phantom Man.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. She didn't get to do that. I don't think. Yeah.
So that's definitely a must do just from what I could see of it. It just looks super cool. I'm going to say at every park, a Small World, you got to do it's a Small World must do. And the train. Oh my God. The train reminded me a lot of Disneyland's train. You know how that train kind of goes through? It's a Small World, like through the facade a little bit. This one did the same thing. Cool. It's just a super cool experience. I loved the train. You had like a little, I don't want to spoil anyone that's ever been to Disneyland, but that last scene in the Disneyland park is, you can kind of see something like that.
Nice.
That's Disneyland Paris too, which is very cool. Like I don't need to go attraction by attraction trying to compare them, but like, I mean, Big Thunder for sure, the Phantom Manor, the Pirates. I thought so. I love Disneyland Pirates, and so I went into their Pirates of the Caribbean thinking like, oh, this is just gonna be like Walt Disney World's. Oh no, it's more like Disneyland. Like it is unbelievable. It is so good, and that whole theming area, like They have like a pirate ship out there. They have like that skull, like a big skull, like in the water. Oh my god! Like their Adventureland is one of the super coolest things. But it's missing a Jungle Cruise, Mike. I did not realize there wasn't going to be a Jungle Cruise at Disneyland Paris.
That is weird. Now, so is pirates in French? Like are the pirates talking in French?
No. To my knowledge, if I recall, it was American. And there were 2 drops, like you have at Disneyland too.
Okay.
We haven't talked about food yet. I know,
and that's what I want to talk about because you went to McDonald's. We talk about that, but that is the strike everybody talks about when it comes to Disneyland Paris. Like to a person, people always say that the dining is lacking. I don't know if it's Americans. I don't know, like because it can. I just in my heart, Disney does food. I think really well. Like when I go to a Disney park, I have some of my best meals of the whole year. Like, because I get to try different things. And again, my palate is like at home here in Missouri. I don't go very nice places to eat. So, I mean, it's probably just a sheltered life. I live in Missouri. I don't live in New York City. I don't live, in California or wherever. So maybe I just have a different perspective, but it seems like a lot of people, when they come back and talk about Disneyland Paris, like, oh man, everything but the food, like the food stinks. Right. What were your thoughts?
So we did a ungardener like thing because we had the one day. We did not do any table service. we went with 2 counter service meals because we wanted to save time.
It makes sense. 100%.
So there's a restaurant on Main Street called Waltz, and
it's a steakhouse, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it's like right on the corner. It kind of reminds me where like Carnation Cafe would be, kind of like at Disneyland. But I think it goes upstairs. It's kind of cool. The window next door is why is his wife's name escaping me? Lillian, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So she's got a window next to her. The windows, by the way, Main Street are unbelievable. I love what they have going on with the windows. Take some time to look at the windows. But yeah, so they have Waltz, the Pirates attraction. I think there's a restaurant called Captain Jack's, kind of like the Blue Bayou, So they have like these table service, but it's like, I just don't want to spend that much time in a table service when we just have this one day. But the counter service, there's counter service everywhere. I think there's more counter service in this park than there definitely is at Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. Maybe even probably not combined, but they're everywhere you look, Mike. I swear there's a counter service restaurant. Like it was an unbelievable amount of food, and like it was kind of overwhelming sometimes. We're like, well, where do we go? So for lunch, sticking with that American thing, because I swear they wanted everything to be like American. Like we went to a Texas barbecue joint.
See, for the life of me, if I'm in Disneyland Paris, I do not want something. And I love barbecue. Like I love it. Like it's my jam. We go to Sugar Fire out here all the time, but like I want something Parisian if I'm there. Like that's my rule. Like when we're on a trip, don't eat something you can get at home. That's what I always tell the kids. Me
like too.
If you can avoid it, yeah, totally. But I mean, could you not avoid that? Is it hard? Is everything American?
Kind of, because another place we were going to go to, we ended up not, was like, oh my God, they had this huge theater in Tomorrowland. I mean, it was a massive theater, but it was like a restaurant. It was kind of like, but it was basically like Cosmic Rays. It was like burgers. And then like, yeah, I couldn't really find anything unless if I was missing it, and like people would reach out to me and let me know. Like I could be wrong. I was really tired, mind you, man. 19 days,
and you've been eating. When you eat on a cruise for 14
tough,
days,
right?
yeah.
And I'll wrap up with some comments on that, like because I know we're gonna be wrapping up here soon about how you should plan for this trip. But I was tired, so basically it was like, all right, here's a barbecue place. We like barbecue. Let's just eat.
I would have been the same way. Yeah,
and it was good. Like we got like some barbecue chicken and some sides and all that, and it was a packed house. This is one of the places where I went to the restroom and these kids came in and they were like bonjour to me, and I was like bonjour, and then they started giggling, and then they started like talking in English to each other. So I think they thought I was French.
That's hilarious. They're like, yeah, that's
and so like, oh yeah, we fooled the French guy.
Yeah, totally. Guess what? I'm American too, suckers.
Yeah, I know, right? And then we snacked around. That's another thing I need to research. I don't know if they had like a festival going on, like in Fantasyland. They had these cute little like kiosks, like food kiosks set up where you can get like these awesome like cheesy potatoes, and then they had like chocolate covered strawberries and just all sorts of like neat stuff. And then we saw it at the Studios Park too, so I wasn't sure if it was like were they doing like a food and wine festival? I don't know. But so we would snack around a little bit and get things like that. But for dinner, we were getting kind of hangry. We were tired. We've been on vacation. We've been in Europe for 19 days, man. We are tired. We just need to make a decision. None of us can make a decision. I thought about booking an ADR, but then again, we're like, we'll probably just fall asleep because we're so tired. You know,
real.
put us in
Yeah,
a
100%.
warm place. You know, it's dark. So we went with a Coco themed restaurant. It was like Rancho del Zoco, like all over it again, basically. And it was awesome though.
Ah,
and I got
see,
I got a margarita. I got a frozen margarita while I was in there.
always the right answer.
I think we all got burritos basically, and like some. It was funny. They didn't call them chips. They called them like tortilla Dorito, like Dorito, like tortilla chips or something. I know I had the name Doritos in it or something, but it was good. It definitely got the job done. It was a really great burrito, and then that margarita, it was like a green lime frozen margarita. It was so good.
And,
so we went with barbecue and Mexican food, Mike.
But you know, I'll say what though, because Pam and I 100% says when you've been on a cruise for like 7 days, you've been eating like fancy meals for like 7 days. Dude, when you get home and you have like that first just plain taco or like just a regular old hamburger or like barbecue, it tastes so good because you've been eating fancy and you were doing it for 14 days. Like just a regular old burrito from Taco Bell tastes awesome.
For sure. But yeah, so I mean, the Fantasyland is great. I mean, all the lands were good. It felt familiar, and the rides are a little different, which is great, right? Like you want your Space Mountain to be a little different. You want the Big Thunder to be a little different. It was a really fun day. I didn't talk about one attraction though. I should bring it up really quick. So they have Indiana Jones out there. Do you know anything about the Indiana Jones at Disneyland Paris?
I have no idea. Nope.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely not like Dinosaur, the Indiana Jones, you know, in Disneyland. It is like a rough roller coaster. And you could see it when you got in line, right? But when we saw Indiana Jones on the map, we're like, oh yeah, let's do that. We love the Indiana Jones in Disneyland. Nope, it's a roller coaster. You go upside down.
Oh, so it's not a Jeep then. It's not like a Jeep vehicle.
No,
Okay.
it's actually like a smaller train. I think it's like 4 cars, like 8 people like go at a time or something. And it almost reminds you like one of those like wild mouse kind of coasters. It's not quite like that where like the sharp turns, but it was rough, man. My head was like banging on the shoulder pads the whole time.
Nope.
But we still did it twice.
You did it twice. You're like, I hated it getting back on.
Yeah.
What are you
and
doing?
we did I should put this in there. I mean, Emily talks about it in the vlog, but for those listening, so someone came in and talked about Disneyland Paris, and like I've gained some weight over the years. I'm working on that. You know, new Scott's gonna be starting here really soon. But everyone said like you can do everything, but Crush's coaster or whatever was gonna be like the hardest one for like a poo-sized person, right? So I didn't want to even try and have the embarrassment of me trying to like get into a ride vehicle and not have it happen. But Emily wanted to try it, and plus we wanted it for the vlog, we wanted it for the podcast and research it. So Emily rode the Crush coaster, which is at the Studios Park. So we hopped over there and did that, and she said she loved it. And the way she described it was kind of like Guardians, almost like you're just like kind of like in a vehicle where you're kind of like swaying a little bit, and you're looking at screens. And she said French Crush was hilarious from like Finding Nemo, you know. But like she said she loved it. It was one of her favorite things that she did actually. So like just wanted to throw that out there. So from what I heard, and I could see the ride vehicle, it looked like it could be potentially kind of snug. But and that thing always had like an hour plus wait. Like people love the Crush coaster. So the premier access pass really came in handy for Emily to do that. Honestly, she could have done it a couple times because me and Liz didn't do it, but we were trying to do everything together though. But so that was fun. But yeah, it's great, Mike. But yeah, I don't know if you have any more questions. You want to talk about Disney Springs, but I do have like a little wrap up thing I was going to talk about. I know we've gone long today.
No, let's go ahead and wrap because we are going a little bit long. And I mean, of course, we'll have the Sunday night shows. People are going to have tons of questions now that you've kind of whetted their appetite with the dining, with these attractions that Disneyland Paris has that we don't have stateside, the ones that we can compare them to. What it's, you have options to make the most of your time with this, very costly, but very effective way to, cut through the lines. I mean,
very costly, I'll tell you.
But we put a lot of information.
4 or 5.
No, we put a lot of information out there, which I think is a great way for this show to talk about. A lot of people have been there. We have a lot of folks over in Europe that go here. This is their home park, Ian and, Mohawk and Simon. And, they know 10 times over. They're probably, oh yeah, we do this all the time. So I think it's a great kind of primer for folks that are thinking about making this journey for the first time. And, we'll have lots of great conversations around it over in the clubhouse, but summarize it though. Just wrap it up here because we'll have the conversations continuing on shows to come, and you have the vlogs coming up, here soon too with visuals.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was like my best trip report because I was all over the place.
No, I think it was I loved it.
That's kind of why I'm good with the wrap up, like because I felt like I was all over the place, and I talked about how I didn't plan, like I wanted to be surprised, but I think some planning will help you. I really do. And I'm fortunate enough where like I love Disney, where like that's probably not. I fell in love with Europe, Mike. You know I did. Like I want to go back to Europe, and I would love to do Disneyland Paris again and give it a redo. But I felt like we were just all over and scattered because we didn't have a plan. So I would recommend try to have some kind of plan. Like think about your dining options, because I feel like we wasted some time just like because we were tired, man. It was the end of the trip, so we were tired. So try not to do it on like if you're doing a long Europe trip, like don't do it how we did and make it the last thing you do. Like you want to be fresh. Like anytime you go to a Disney park, right? You want to be kind of fresh.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we always say like parks before cruise is normally a way to go, right? You go hard in the parks and you relax on the cruise. We did it the opposite way. We were on a cruise for 14 days, which we were doing some crazy excursions and getting tired doing that. So anyway, so I would just say try to plan, but it's a great park. You know, there's so many things to do. It's not, I don't think it's going to be as big as like Disneyland Park per se. And the Studios Park is definitely getting tweaked, getting some work on. And there's shows too. Like we didn't go to any of the shows, which I kind of regret, but we were just trying to focus on the attractions, on the rides and things like that. But try to make a table service dining, like come up with a plan, because again, we just felt so rushed that I felt like even though we had the Premier Access Pass, we didn't maximize our day very well. But I highly recommend it though. If any Disney fans, if you can make your way over there, do it. Spend more than a day, like we did. Spend a couple days if you can, and just really give that park some love, because it is a gorgeous park. It really is.
You have me super. Like again, regrets, right? I took like 15 years to get to Disneyland, and I just don't want to make this a pattern, right? I want to get to places like Tokyo and in Paris and check this out. See all these cool sites on the Olympics, and I want to see these.
And the English barrier is not. I mean, you talk about language. That was one thing I was worried about, but like being like as you talked about, they really tried to make it Americanize it there. So like no worries with the language while you're there. Like some people did talk French to us initially, but then 2 seconds later they knew like, oh yeah, those are Americans. I could talk English to them. So plus, no concerns with that there.
And now I know you can get burritos and margaritas, so I'm safe.
I got you ready, right? Burritos and margaritas. And then there's the Billy Bob's barbecue in the Disney Village. I didn't see a character. I said we were on the phone with our friend Beth and I kind of doing this. Like, how could I go to Disneyland Paris and not like go see Mickey or something? Like that is like honestly my biggest regret. How could I not see a character? So
you seriously did not see, like,
I mean, I saw them I didn't go like get a picture with one. You know what I mean? Like, how could I not do that? I love characters.
I mean, you didn't see them like in passing, like never.
No,
like
I saw them in like. So we saw a parade. I didn't even talk about the parade that we saw. We saw a very cool parade, but yeah, we saw the characters in the parade.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like,
I saw like Pinocchio and Geppetto out a few times.
I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, what?
I even saw Anger from Inside Out, which I thought was an interesting character. Like I've seen Joy and I can't think of the other one.
Joy and Pain, Rob
Sadness.
Sadness.
I never saw Anger before, so that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, I mean the characters are out, and they got the Marvel characters too in the other park and all that. Actually, Deadpool is there right now, which is kind of cool to see. But didn't see Mickey or Minnie, which was disappointing on my part. I should have made that happen. Maybe I should have put that Plaza character breakfast or whatever and got to see some characters.
Can't
but
do it
that's
all.
Okay.
You only had so much.
I can't have
time.
regrets. I'm going to go back, right? I'm going to go back.
That's right.
Someday, not tomorrow, not later this year, but some year I will go back.
I mean, Run Disney used to have the races over there. Maybe they'll do that again. It was what, the Castle to Chateau or something they used to do.
Could we get you to do that?
Possibly. I mean, it got me out to Disneyland. We'll see.
I think you got Secret Girls, man. I know Pam is not like super into the Disney, but as a Disney, I mean, she likes Disney.
She does like Disney. She doesn't like the podcasts and stuff, but she does like going. Yeah.
But I think for her to get a new experience, kind of like when we went to Disneyland a couple of years ago, I saw Pam smiling.
Oh, she loved Disneyland.
Loved it.
Oh, she loves going to Disneyland. Yeah.
So I think you can give her that experience again, something new, going to Disneyland Paris. Plus, it's Paris, man.
I know. She's getting ready to retire, so we'll have some time.
I love it.
And
but
I can work from anywhere, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this.
Thanks for letting me talk about it. I know I rambled a ton.
No, this is exactly what I want.
Fun,
this is us hanging out. This is exactly what we'd be doing just on the phone, but now everybody got to listen in with us. So this and it's a preview for the vlog. So again, tell people where they can check out. So we're not there yet. We're not to Disneyland Paris yet, but we are gonna get there in this playlist. But it's a mini series, is what it is.
Yeah, mini series. So I'm trying to do 2 a week.
Oh my God, you're kidding. So that's why I don't do video. It's too much work.
I know. Mid-September, somewhere in there. But the best way, though, is to subscribe to Must See Adventures. As we talked about at the beginning, you don't have to worry about me like sharing it on social media or anything. It's going to hit your feed and notification, and then you can watch us. And someone in the Discord already gave me a great title for our full day that we do, that last day we did, Impressions Day Scott, or Impressions Day Gardner.
There it is.
That's got to be the episode title, right?
Exactly.
So look for Impressions Day Gardner in a month and a half.
Yes. So check it out. Must see adventures on YouTube. So check it out. Subscribe today. Subscribe to the Be Our Guest podcast while you're doing it on all your favorite, or wherever you download the show. It really does help us out. So we appreciate it. And Townsy13 over on Instagram says, shout out Scotty. They have the same crew neck that you're wearing today on the show.
Oh, I love it.
Rock on. All right.
I had to get this. I didn't even share. Like, it rained. It wasn't supposed to rain at all that day. And it was a cold rain, Mike. And Disney parks love a cold rain or a weather change.
Because it sells merch like nobody's business.
I think 30% of the one in every 3 guests is wearing this sweatshirt.
Exactly. Well, the day everybody had the white, like when we were out at Disneyland in July 22, everybody had
it was
kind of
like
Mickey.
that. So they had a blue version of this. So my girls got the blue one. I went with gray just to be a little different.
Switch it up.
Man, you saw so many people wearing these, and I love the sweatshirt. It's great.
Oh, that's a
I
great
mean, we're gonna
sweatshirt.
get something anyway, so why not get the sweatshirt?
Gotta get it. All right, don't forget, today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure. So check out all the details today. No cost to you over at themagicforless.com. Please use our Amazon affiliate link, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. You guys make these shows possible. Could not do it without you. Just $5 a month, and you'll get our bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over this weekend over at patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give Scott a follow. Keep up with everything he's doing. He'll be playing golf this weekend, maybe, or going on an adventure. Who knows? Follow him, Epscott, EPSCOT on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. Also, I'm in those same places at Be Our Guest Mike. I go about the same places and do the same things just about every day, but you never know. I might do something fun. Football season starts soon, so I get to go to Mizzou and do some fun stuff here shortly too. So give me a follow there as well. Be Our Guest Mike.
Just wait till there's a Mizzou Michigan State game. I can't wait for that to be
playoffs. Maybe.
Well,
I mean,
it's gonna take Michigan State a little bit of time to play.
I'm just hoping for Mizzou. Let's hope. I don't want to say anything because the curse and everything, but we want to see you in the clubhouse this weekend. So come on over. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. It's the place where our listeners hang out. Over 1,000 folks there all around the world, 24/7, just great Disney conversations. We just talk about life in general. We share memes, we share videos, we share pictures. We have a channel that's folks live from the Disney destinations. That is so fun. We have people celebrating birthdays there. Jamie celebrated a big birthday, showed the Gideon's cake, which I still cannot get out of my mind. It was so big, it had Oreos on top. Why did I not get a piece of that cake? Scott, did you not want a piece of that cake? I wanted a piece of that cake.
I wanted a piece of that cake.
That cake looks so good. I just keep looking at it. So anyway, get over there. You got to be a part of the family. It's awesome. It's like our little cheers. So come on over, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. All right, we're getting out of here. We'll see you Sunday night, though. 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. The phone lines are open. Give us a call. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. All right, time to jump out of here, and we'll catch you Sunday night. So for Scott, I'm Mike, wishing you a great weekend. Whatever you do, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.